by Leeds in a dramatic playoff series last season. A top 4 spot would be the minimum aim for Wigan and Catalans. Indeed, both sides will surely be targeting the grand final, and so they should. We're about to get underway then. Catalan looking for a rare win here at the DW Stadium. The conditions, it's bitterly cold, a strong wind, it's snowing, and I guess the conditions could play a big part.
Well, they could do, and probably the men that won't be used to it, the men from down the south of France who touched down this morning here. And interesting listening to the lads in the studio. Yeah, I agree with them. We've got 4 outstanding wingers on shore, but those lads in the middle, let me tell you, they know that they're in for a big battle, because it could become a bit of a slugfest.
Yeah, you talk about the you know, Catalan not having the weather, but did you see their pre-season shots in the snow, trudging up the hills? I think they're, you know...
In the sun?
Well, I don't know about that. I think they're going to take this weather pretty well, but like you say, it's definitely about these middles, isn't it? And keeping the Wigan to the edges, definitely.
Well, there's the early kick from Smith, and after Morg does well in the end, started all 3 games at fullback for Catalan. So far this season, Sam Tompkins with just the 1 appearance, that was in the halves, but he is still recovering from a knee injury, and of course still no Mitchell Pearce as well. So Catalan have a lot of players to come back. Here is Seguier. A big night for him, his 50th appearance for the Catalan Dragons. Can he celebrate with a win? The veteran McAlorum, and here is McMeekan. Really interesting that McMeekan here, Mike McMeekan, is starting at prop forward for the very first time in his career, and it was something that they were working at, that Steve McNamara was working at during the close season.
Well, he played a few times the last year, and I think he's a phenomenal player. He's good strike on an edge, he's big and aggressive in the middle of the field. He'll be one of those players that lead from the front. Look at that, that's the way you've got to deal with Jayfield. Even in slippy conditions like this, we've got 2 fullbacks on shore. The footwork, the speed is very good coming out of trouble as well.
You just want to be shooting them down, don't you? And I quite like the mix-up in the middles, because you've got to try something new. We're kind of losing the old school kind of big prop forwards, and we're looking at more athletic, agile, more ball handlers, aren't we, in the middles now?
But despite the conditions, we're expecting points. We've got the points all over the field in both sides. And that man there, Bevan French, is full of them. Here's the charge from Mike Cooper. Career renaissance for Mike Cooper here. It's a second chance at Wigan after all the years he spent at Warrington. Smith it is who gets the kick away, and that's a really good kick in the conditions. Picked up by the former Wigan winger Tom Davis, and that looked a little high. It was a little high, and the first penalty goes to the Catalan Dragons.
Well, that was a great carry by Cooper, who got a quick play of the ball, enabled the hooker to get out from dummy half in Sam Powell. Then they get to the kick, and then they give this penalty away. Look, he's trying to use his footwork. Morgan Smithies just goes over the top, just relieves that field position. But just look, he can go. He can see what's in front of him. Gives the ball to Harry Smith. Harry Smith has pulled up that Catalan defence, kicks it behind and finds some space for Wigan to chase it.
The kicking game as well, especially in these conditions, will be extra important tonight.
It's going to be a tough one, isn't it? You know, the wind is swirling, always does in this stadium, and I think particularly if you're going to see the try scored, you want to keep them to the edges, because that's going to just cut down that gap, isn't it? Especially for Harry Smith, who's kind of grown into his confidence at kicking at the minute, isn't he, this season?
Yeah, important early stages, especially for the Catalan Dragons. Julien Bousquet, who has been terrific for the Dragons over the years, a one-club man. And here is Meakin again, has the power, has the pace as well, and he also has the hands. He will be dangerous tonight.
Yeah, well, I thought they missed Julien Bousquet. You mentioned him before. He only played 7 games last year, but he's one of those forwards that will really add to this side. Great
ball from May to find Morgan, Farrell and Smith there, back trying to stop the young fullback, but that was clever play. Last one, here is Tyrone May again, going on his own. Can he offload the ball? He can eventually, but I think that went forward, didn't it? Well, is this going to be a scrum here for the Catalan Dragons? It is, you know. The original pass from May did go backwards and wasn't knocked forward.
Yeah, well, you can see here that there's nothing wrong. Brad Singleton, I think, is the man who knocks the ball on. You can see, yeah, it comes off Mickey McLaurin, goes backwards, then Brad Singleton comes out the line, makes a play for it. Tyrone May, what a good player he is. He understands the game so well. The only two positions he's not played in his career is prop forward and hooker. And Michael McLaurin back where it all started for him as a youngster.
Look at Tyrone May winning a grand final with Penrith, didn't he? And this is a good play on the blind side. Good tackle coming in. Kieran manages to get the ball out. It's picked up there by Seguier, but Wigan, of course, offside. So another opportunity here. This is, if Steve McNamara wanted the perfect start, this is it. Can they turn it into points?
You know, Marcus Griffiths just calling one of the players, I think it was Toby King, was it, that was offside?
Come on. Good, well done, Morgan. Good listening, mate.
Seguier once more. Fourth year with the Dragons. McIlaurin, who's played on this ground so many times, it'd be sweet for him to win. And here is Bousquet. Don't forget, Wigan haven't conceded a point in nearly 170 minutes of football. May now, that's a good ball. Morg going for the line himself. Can he get the ball down? Brilliant Wigan defence, it had to be. He was stretching every sinew, and he was pushed back. They're knocking on the door, and they're more than knocking on the door, because that is the first try of the game. Brilliant try, and I think it may well have been Manu Moy, and it is. What a moment for him. He's back playing. He went home for his father's funeral, and he's back playing, he's back starting, and Manu Mao scores his first try for the Catalan Dragons.
Well, the smile on Steve McNamara's face, and Manu Mao commands respect from everybody, doesn't he? The Tongan Terminator. He shows up really well. And Archer Morgan, look at him, the footwork that he's got. He attracts four players, the desperate defence, and that's where the Warriors were really strong last week. The try-line defence was outstanding, and it was going to take something big and strong and powerful to get over that line. And there it was, Manu Mao. He comes onto this ball. As soon as this ball's played, he's just setting his target. He's already picked where he's going to run, and he's got to be brave. Look at him, you can spot the defenders. He's looking where he goes. It just settles a bit further out. Eyes up Singleton, hits and spins and gets over.
All smiles for the coach. Manu Mao, his first try for the Dragons, the former Hull star, and what a start. In the end, Wigan's run coming to an end at 170 minutes without conceding a point. Well, they conceded first here against a Catalan side who've won twice in 16 years. Much to muse about for Matty Peake and his assistant Sean O'Loughlin and Adam Kieran. 18 points against Hull last week in their best performance of their season, the biggest win of the season, to turn 4 into 6. Well, never any doubt. A perfect start. The Dragons lead by 6 points to 0.
Yeah, exactly. They deserve that, didn't they? They've been grafting up this end. And we talked about the start, and the guys talked about it in the studio. It's going to be a real battle between the halves and the edges and the fullbacks, and that's exactly what it's been now. Tyrone May has really commanded the space. He's been moving it around. Archie Morg's been coming in, and that's it. Just that little space in the gap in the defence and pushed out, and they've managed to boulder over there. We're going to see a bit more of that from Catalan, I reckon, today.
I think the worrying thing, or the disappointing thing for Matty Peake, Terry, is how easy it was for Manu Mao to score.
It was just one of those that he spotted. You could see him lining up Cooper and Brad Singleton and just positioning himself on the outside, and he knew what he was doing, and that's his first try that he scored since last Easter. So he's not familiar for getting over the try line, but there was so much determination in that run for him.
Ben Garcia, the captain, just outside the Catalan 20. Still snowing, but not as heavily as it was at kickoff. Here is Julien Bousquet. 12 years a servant for the Catalan Dragons. May involved again, and Manu Mao involved once more. Really strong start from the Dragons here. Kieran with the kick downfield, and that should be an easy take for Jay Field.
Play on now, you've got tackles, look!
Here is the try-scoring machine, Liam Marshall.
And this is where both teams need to be really well. Respect the ball when you're coming away from your try line. Get to the kick. Make sure you come up with a decent defensive chase. And this is where you need to front-load all your efforts. Try and restrict those meters. Work extra hard. Michael McLaurin. One thing that Catalan do well, they work really hard from marker, trying to close the big fellas down, trying to chop the legs before they get going.
Go, Marcus!
Well, Wigan with the ball in the Catalan half. In anger, in attack for the first time, and we're nearly 10 minutes into this game. Smith again with a little kick over the top, and that won't run dead, and Davis makes a mess of it, but then it's kicked out by Morg. It goes back to foul. I think it had gone back, but it looked like, I think Morg was maybe in an offside position, but he's going to give the scrum the knock-on against the Dragons, but what a kick from Smith.
Yeah, outstanding, wasn't it? Look at that. Where he took a nasty bounce, didn't it, away from Tom Davis. Then Morg, well, he panicked, tried to kick the ball off the field, and do you know what? It nearly come off for the Warriors then.
But that's in it, that panic there, isn't it, from that's what neither team want. A beautiful kick there, beautiful spacing that is made there, and then just the ground is slippy, the ball is slippy. You just gotta, and that ball's nasty, isn't it, when it bounces? A little bit of loss of composure from Catalan Dragons there, and it could have ended slightly differently.
Yeah, let's see.
Well, they break quickly from the scrum, and here is Toby King. New centre partnership, of course. They got offside here, Catalan, so penalty for Wigan. Great field position to get some points on the board. Singleton. First time that we've really seen Catalan forced to defend their own line. Here is Powell, inside for Cooper. Mike Cooper, 14 years at Warrington, but a new start to the career here, and that was a
McLaurin on St. Paul.
You just knew at some stage early in the game McLaurin was going to try and make his mark against his opposite number, and there we have it. Couple of tackles left in the set. Powell again.
Oh, he's knocked on.
Fumbled there.
Yeah, it's a fumble. Well, that's a mistake, and we talked at the start about mistakes in key conditions, and that was a mistake from Morgan Smithies.
I think Wigan pride themselves, don't they, on the score that they managed to keep when opposition come here, and I think they might have been a little bit rattled here. Silly mistakes like that, it's just unnecessary. It's a wet condition, you know. That hit there, what an absolute belter. Sat him back down, hasn't he?
Do you know, that's what Michael McLaurin will give you. Do you know, he misses more tackles than any other Catalan player, but that's because he's aggressive with his line speed, and you don't mind playing with a player like that who's going to get off the line and try and belt somebody, maybe fall off him, but certainly slow him down.
You enjoyed that, didn't you?
Because he's one of those players, make him out that as a player you love playing with people who are like all or nothing. You just go out there.
242 appearances in 11 years at Wigan. Mickey McLaurin. Fierce defence from Marshall, and Smith on Manu Mara, the try scorer. 12 minutes on the clock, and Catalan leading 6-0, and you've got to say deservedly so. Gone through a stack of work early doors, hasn't he, McMeekin, and eventually 1, 2, 3, 4 Wigan defenders it takes to bring Mike McMeekin down.
That's what we're going to do, aren't they? Yeah, I do, but we're going to do that. They're committing 3 or 4 players every time to that tackle. Quick play the ball, and we could get round them.
Well, the kick to Jay Field, easy for the fullback, but nowhere to go. It's a decent chase in the end from the Dragons. Impressed with Catalan?
Very much so. Catalan are one of them teams. Every year you seem to pick them out because you look at the roster, and yeah, they lost 10 players last year. They've only brought 5 in, promoted some youngsters within the side, and they're always a team that Steve McNamara, he's done a tremendous job, hasn't he? Won the Challenge Cup in 2018, League Leaders Shield in 2021, couldn't quite get the grand final win in 2021, but you'd always expect them to be at the top.
Keg Cuss looking for a way through, midway inside the Catalan half, but this is the last. The ball will go to Harry Smith, that's a high hanging difficult kick, and Davis in the end at the 3rd attempt takes it really well. Tom Davis.
I think Catalan have come here, haven't they, and they've been a little bit written off. You know, they've got losing a few players, they've come into Wigan. They're the underdogs, aren't they, completely, but they've come out firing today.
6-0 Catalan lead. Let's go pitch side. Jenna?
Evening, Pikey. The snow continues to fall, and I can tell you that if match officials deem it necessary, we have some yellow rugby league balls on standby to be injected into the game. There you go. There's one right there. The match officials will switch them out if necessary.
I think we're okay for that.
Hopefully it's not going to be a blizzard.
Great kick. That was McLaurin as well. Turn Jay Field.
That chase. Look, everyone knows how big. That's one of the misses that'll go down next to Michael McLaurin's name. But he just made Jay Field just go away from which enabled one of the players to get him. You've got to be strong. You've got to be committed on the chase against the Warriors.
But you can't give them any space, can you? And that's exactly what they're doing. They're getting off the foot. They're moving forward. They're shutting down Field. They're shutting down Marshall. They're keeping it, you know, really tight here. And I think they're working off. Let's hope they can keep it going for the full 80, though.
Farrell, Morgan now with Manu Mao to make the tackle. Manu Mao's first try for the Dragons, a difference. And again, Smith. All the kicks have come to this left-hand side. And Arthur Morg here is going to have to just play safe. And he does play safe. And he was pushed out there by Liam Marshall. And it will be a dropout from underneath the post. But Harry Smith's kicking game has been a feature.
Yeah, well, he's a competitive player, and his kicking game is really strong, isn't it? We've seen the way that he played last year, the way that he's played this year in the games. If you would have watched them, and Mike Pete knows that he's got a little gem there in Harry Smith.
He's precision, he's putting in that corner every time.
Let's go, mate. Come on. Yeah, it's broke.
Yeah, I think that was tackle 3 as well, wasn't it? So it's clear to see what they're doing, and all the kicks have come to this wing where Tom Davis is.
Keep listening, Mosh. Good.
It's a good high hanger, that, well taken by Field, and here is Mike Cooper.
Okay.
At the veteran stage now, Mike Cooper.
Hold with me, Manu, wait.
Still one of the top prop forwards in the British game. Here is Singleton.
And release 2. Go. Right edge.
Slowly making progress. Smith.
3.
There's nowhere there for Smithy to go. Brilliant tackle from Adam Kieran. And the ball goes to ground here. What will the referee say? I think he's going to say go back and take it again. Take the play the ball again. That's exactly what he's going to do. Good referee.
Yeah, well, Kieran's caught on the wrong side of the ruck. You can see that Sam Powell just makes a bit of a meal of it. Gets the penalty awarded.
1. Move, get on the line.
Hold. Just having a good little spell.
Go on.
Singleton charging towards the post.
Well, that's what they've got in Cooper and Singleton. 2 old-fashioned prop forwards, haven't they?
You're loving that, aren't you?
There's a set restart as well. Yeah, old war horses, aren't they?
Is that you refer yourself as a war horse? Is that what you are?
I think so, and here is one of them, Singleton, just trying to stretch over the line. But Meekham pushing him back right on that try line. 6-0, Catalan leads. Powell goes on his own. I don't think he's managed to get that down.
On the 10, Sam, please.
Yeah, held up, superb defence. That was well read, brilliantly read by the Dragons captain Ben Garcia.
Yeah, he did well, didn't he, to stop both of those tackles from getting over.
Okay.
Here is Jay Field now, and Wardle. But so far, so good for the Catalan Dragons defence.
Wait. Go 4.
Conditions have improved somewhat. Still bitterly cold, but
5.
such a big game this early on in the season. It is the last, and Smith, as they run it to that right-hand side, there's an overlap. French kicked the ball forward, taken really well by Morg. And that terrific defence once more. There was just for a glimmer, there was an opening for Bevan French, but Arthur Morg read that really well. Crunching tackle by Willie
This is
Eisner.
Wigan's DNA. Arthur Morg did ever so well to get back in the field of play, but they're not out of the woods now. This is where the Warriors like to play. This is where they like to defend. They press really hard, they get the numbers in, target the ball.
They're really slowing that play the ball down, aren't they? They're putting the pressure in, they're putting the bodies in, forcing them back. You know, look how slow that play the ball is there. You know, it's giving Wigan time to get back on the line, get onside and go again.
5. Move, Morgan. Come on,
Wow, Willie Eisner's going to have some treatment. I wonder if that came from that clash. 6-0, terrific start so far from Catalan, but here at J Field, let's go pitch side again. Jenna.
Yeah, an injury update just a few moments ago. Mathieu Legueur, the Catalan young centre, has come off holding his arm. I believe it's a forearm injury. He's gone straight into the dressing room for treatment. Hugo Tesson has come on to replace him.
Oh, what a moment for young Tesson, only his second appearance for the Catalan Dragons, but that's a blow, and they've got a few injuries, haven't they? There's probably 7 or 8 players who are on the sidelines who will be playing tonight. It would be a much different look to this Catalan side. Wardle manages to hang on to it. Really good defence from young Tesson. First action, it was a key tackle on Wardle from the young man. Normally a hooker, Hugo Tesson. They've been pressed into action in the centres. Smith now on the last, sticks a little kick through, and that's well taken by Tom Johnston. And again, Catalan hold firm. They lead 6-0 coming up for the midway point in the first half.
Well, this is where the Warriors turn the ball over, and some of the senior boys now for Catalan will have to put the hand up and take the ball forward, even when they know what's going to come. There's a ball to come free. Is it stolen? Yes, it is, says the referee. You're trying to dominate, you're trying to push the player back, and if you get your arms around the ball and you're clamping it, you run the risk of giving the penalty away, and you can just see as he's going to ground, I think he loses it. Morgan Smith.
I think Morgan holds on there, doesn't he, to his arm?
Yeah, Morgan Smith has got him locked up underneath.
What are we doing, Adam?
And then the ball just comes out.
That's unfortunate for Wigan, because their defence on that, you know, in that area is just absolutely fantastic. You've spoken about how Catalan have got this young side out of 8 players missing, but I think they're doing a great shift here. And I think that's, you know, one of the things that they've had tied against them. Loads of players out, loads of experience out, but they're putting in a good shift here. Let's, you know, we've got to give them the credit where it's due.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not early, wait. Go on.
They've been under the pump, haven't they, for the last 10 minutes or so. You look at them. Tompkins, Pearce, Navarrete, Rouget, Takayaho, Whitley, DaCosta, Yaha. They would all play. So this is a really good effort from this Catalan Dragons side.
I remember last year, I think it was around 27, they turned up here, Catalan, with more or less a reserve side, and a lot of youngsters making their way in the game. And yeah, they got beat, but I was really impressed with what you saw, the character in the side, and the next level of players coming through.
I think there were 10 debutants that day, and one of them was young Tesson, who's come on here.
He was very good that night.
It's Artem Morg with the kick this time. Marshall takes it well, but this is where Catalan want to keep Wigan, because Wigan, since the tries scored by Manu Mao after 6 minutes or so, Wigan have had most of the ball, most of the play, most of the possession. Catalan have lost another player in Mathieu Legueur through injury, but they're holding firm.
You know, and fair play to both sides as well. You got Catalan that haven't made a mistake in these cold, freezing conditions, and they're completing at 100%. You've got Wigan Warriors completing at 80%, so both of them want to do exactly what Sam Powell's gone for the 40-20.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's an absolutely super kick from Sam Powell. He read the situation beautifully. What a play from Powell, and what a big difference this may make.
Yeah, he comes up with some big players, doesn't he? Sam Powell in his testimonial year in his hometown club.
Ethan Havard, has he lost the ball?
They pinged him here for contact to the head. I think it's Benjamin Garcia.
Yeah, it is.
What are you doing? Wait.
May well have been slightly high from the Dragons captain. So more defending to do for Catalan. Here is Ethan Havard. Powell has been busy with the ball, hasn't he? Mike Cooper never shy to take the ball on right in front of the post. This is the moment for Wigan to get some points on the board. Kate Cass drops the ball off for Willie Isa, and down it goes again, and another Wigan mistake, and Catalan survived once more, but they defended superbly, and they lead still 6-0.
That was a real poor pass. That I know he likes to dig into the line, Kate Cust, but that pass has got to be better. He's got to give his teammate
Can you get one for Mickey Mack and all, please?
a better pass than that. And you can see Willie getting some attention. I think he's got a nasty cut on his lip there.
Here, guys.
He might need some stitches.
Yeah, I'm going to say, it looks like he may need some stitches. No thought of him wanting to come off.
No, he's one of those players, Willie, actually, let me tell you, he's tough as they come. Not the biggest, but
the referee is going to step in here.
And the shirt, you need the face sorting and the shirt sorting, mate.
There's a fine line, isn't there, between tough and look at the state of him. It's been bleeding for some time now, hasn't it? But, you know, we talk about that toughness, the physical toughness, the mental toughness in rugby league. And I don't think it matters what position you play or where you're at. You know, rugby league, you're bred a bit differently, aren't you?
He's looking around saying, what's
wrong?
The problem? I'm cleaning my face now.
Problem?
There's nothing wrong. At one point, he looked like Dracula. There was that much blood around his face. And he gets to
head clash you can see there with Mickey Mack.
Yeah, and you know what? They're both good friends, them two. And you can see as soon as they hear it gushing out.
Are we happy with that, yeah? As happy as we can, then.
Surely he needs some treatment.
If he stops again, he has to go off because of the blood.
It looks like he's staying on, Willie Isett.
Bit tight, that, Mickey.
Cleans his shirt and not his face. I love that.
It's a nasty cut, right on the side of the lip.
I've had some injuries me in my time, but when you get your lip stitched, that's the most painful thing I have ever had in my life. Horrible it is.
Well, I have to say, at this juncture, when we were coming into the stadium, the lady on reception recognised Terry and was wondering why he was dressed up so warmly. And Terry was trying to explain. And her response was classic. You were soft when you played, and you're soft now. She got you right, didn't she?
She did. She did. She knows me well. I said, it's freezing. What do you expect? She said, you've always been soft, you.
I got told by my good friend Baz not to get bullied by that fight tonight, I tell you. Gone soft with him as well.
Yeah.
15 minutes to half-time, and a penalty. Another penalty against Wigan. And the stats here, they've conceded 4 penalties. Their completion rate's down at 75%. Yeah, Catalan completion rate 100%. 3 handling errors from Wigan. And here is Jordan Desiree.
Oh, he's hard to handle, this lad.
Oh, he is.
Exactly what you need coming off the bench after 25 minutes. A bit of punch in the middle.
2, move, K10, wait.
Yeah. I think one thing Steve McNamara, throughout his reign at the Dragons, he's never been afraid to promote the young French stars. And many of them have gone on to be full internationals. Here is Tyrone May. Desiree again. He's a big unit, isn't he, May?
Up that middle of this time is a great addition.
May again. Second or third time they've been this close to the Wigan try line. They lead 6-0. They've defended superbly. They come the short side with Morgan. It was knocked on by Wardle, and they're going to get another set. This is a really good opportunity for more points for the Catalan Dragons.
Well, nice little short side play. Morg just sitting a bit deeper, knowing exactly what he wants to do. If he can get a defender interested, create some space in the 3-on-2. If not, he'll just kick the ball, and Jake Wardle goes for it. Can't quite poach it, puts themselves under a bit of pressure down here. Exactly where Catalan want to be.
Well, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? At half-time, Matthew Peake is going to have some words to say, I'm sure, to his players. And in a first for Sky Sports and for Super League, Matthew Peake is allowing John Wells into the dressing room to hear that half-time talk. That will be an interesting listen, I'm sure. Marks another penalty against Wigan, I think, for offside. Well, a bit of afters as well.
Well, I think it's Toby King again, and look who's in the middle of it. Michael McLaurin straight into it. Willie Isett just smiling at him, yeah, just Kate Cust. Well,
Willie Isett never takes a backward step.
No, he doesn't.
Mickey McLaurin never takes a backward step.
Does he? He's always in there.
They're good friends, them two. You know, Michael McLaurin, I think it was his testimonial year. He was told by Wigan if he wanted, he could move on. I know it hurt his feelings. You can see Cade Custody, he gets up, he pushes Kieran thinking it's him. It was actually McLaurin. They give the penalty. It's the second penalty that the Warriors have given away over on the right-hand side for being offside at the scrum.
Well, that's it. We're going to just under a bit of pressure, aren't they? They're putting themselves under the pressure here. They're not completing. They're making silly mistakes. It's like a bit of crisis going on.
Spot on, and I think that came down to, as well, frustration more than anything from Cade Custody.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's when your temper flies, doesn't it? I mean, you'll know very well, Tez, how your temper goes in the middle. You know, so if things go wrong, you can't complete. You know, the simple basics are not coming off. His frustrations are going to start flying.
Yeah, Willie Ice have finally been told by the referee, Marcus Griffith, you have to go off, you have to get some treatment and get that cleaned up. Brave soul, Willie Ice, but there comes a time.
He is, and he'll do well to get back on the field, even when he's had it stitched up, because another little knock around it.
He's trying to come back on then. He turned round to run back on.
Oh, listen, it's been tried long enough to get him off, haven't they?
Yeah, let's get to our time, 12 minutes. Yeah, I've got you, mate. I'll speak to you in a minute. Bye-bye.
This is a good option, isn't it? Take going for a bit of a rest now.
The right one.
Yeah. Take a bit of a rest, stretch out the lead.
Yeah, try, mate.
It lets you get your composure as well, because Michael McLaurin, then he was in the middle of it, he was winding everyone up, all the players were coming in. It just gives both teams now that time to just settle down.
And that's what you want to think, is it what Wigan's saying to each other now? We know how well they can play. They know they can step back up from this. It's just, you know, when your tempers are flaring, where'd you go? What'd you say?
Just to extend the lead, they've had to do an awful lot of defending in this first half. Kieran has been exceptional with the boot in the first 3 games for the Dragons. And is again, so there we go. 8-0 Catalan lead. Jenna, pitchside.
Mikey, we all thought that Willie Ice was coming off to have that lip stitched up. Well, I can tell you, I was stood right at the foot of the tunnel, and he shook his head. He said, give me a towel, I'm going to wipe it clean. And now he's coming off. So I've got no idea what's going on. He's not wanting to come off. He's shaking his head. I'm watching him right now. There he goes. The doctor literally has him by the hand and he's pulling him down the tunnel to have that lip stitched up.
I think in the end, Marcus Griffith said, you're off, son. You've got to go and get that sorted. The Kai Pearce-Paul is on. And Willie Iser is going to have those painful stitches to try and repair. That's gone out on the full, hasn't it? That's another mistake, and Wigan's, in this first half, it's been littered with mistakes, and that's a bad one. Catalan will get the ball back on halfway, leading 8-0, 10 minutes to half-time.
He'll be disappointed, Harry. As I said before, he's a very good kicker of the ball, and Matty Pete knows that his side are under the pump here a bit.
I mean, you could blame the weather for that, couldn't you? But he's played so many great kicks in the first half that it's just a silly error. That's safe to say I think they're a bit rattled.
I think both coaches were saying in pre-match with Jenna, on a night like this, it's about doing the basic things right, and that's exactly what Catalan have done.
Do the basics, and when you get an opportunity, you've got to own them big plays. You've got to make all them little clutch moments, you've got to make sure you control them.
I mean, in bright sunshine, in the hottest of the weather, you'll be happy with 100% completion rate at this point in the game, wouldn't you? You know, to do it in these conditions is absolutely fantastic from Catalan.
Outstanding. And another set restart for Catalan. What a chance for Arthur Romano on the far side, but what a chance here for Catalan again to add to their advantage. 8-0 they lead. And all the talk before the game was Wigan keeping a clean sheet. Catalan have done everything right in this game, in the conditions. May with a long looping pass. And it was taken by Davis, but he had to go to ground. No choice there. The chasers, Wardle and Marshall. Goudamont. A useful player to have coming off the bench. May once more. But Kieran had nowhere to go. This is good line defence. Speed out of the line from Wigan. They go the short side. May with a little chip forward, and The ball comes loose and that went forward. Surely they're all offside. What's the referee going to do here? It was like pinball wizard, and it is going to be another set for Catalan. Wigan were lucky to get away with that.
Michael McLaurin then, he calls back at the same player who came out the line and come up with a decent tackle on Kieran. That was Toby King. He thought there was going to be some space around him. They get that kick away, the bit of the ricochet, another set of 6 for Steve McNamara's men.
I think they did really well. You know, we saw that ball fly out to this end, which what gave Catalan a reset, you know, to go all the other sides. The defence had to move, give them a bit more space, scatter the defence a bit.
Well, they lead 8-0. They're looking for more. Picked up on the bounce by young Tissot. Matthew Laguerre with an arm injury is off for the Catalan Dragons. Desiree does really well right in front of those Wigan posts. McLaurin looks right, goes left. May with a little pass, and the ball will go out surely for the try for Romano, and that's a brilliant, brilliant Catalan try, and they have turned the pressure into points, and Arthur Romano makes it 12-0. Silence around the DW Stadium, but no more than Catalan deserve.
Yeah, oh, absolutely fantastic. We've talked about that 100% completion rate, those simple basics coming off, and that was moving that ball really swiftly through the hands and making that defence work. And then we're going to push it, look at there, just out the back play, and again, simple hands, you're making that defence come in. The ball's just moving really swiftly across there, and then we see Cuss there doesn't know what to do. He's got to pin his defence there, and that just opens up the side for this 2-on-1 here. Really simple, pass the ball over, slide it down, and I think that's Catalan's well-deserved. They've been up on this edge so many times, they've had so many set restarts, so many penalties, they've edged the defence, and now they're really reaping the rewards of that.
Interesting as well, Phil Clark was saying in the build-up that he reckons that Adam Kieran could turn out to be one of the best signings of the year. That was probably why. That was a fantastic pass, read it beautifully. Yeah,
he's a good player, isn't he? He's been getting some media attention saying how well he's been playing and how he's just slotted into the side. And you know, you look at the way that Wigan defend, and they're renowned for being an aggressive side. They jammed in. It was Toby King who jammed in. He turned his hips. He created that 3-on-1 out the back, and you've got to have some vision. Like I say, Kieran spots it along with Michael McLaurin. They're looking at them short side players and seeing what's on.
Worth mentioning that Catalan have lost their last 15 games on this ground, going back 12 years.
Well, the more positive sort of mindset would be we're nearer to a win. We can't keep on losing. We can't keep losing. Some nights got to come off for us.
Off the touchline to make it a 3-score game. Just fades to the right. But I'll tell you what, at kick-off, they've settled for 12-0, 5 minutes to half-time.
Well, the men from the south of France have come up with the right game plan, haven't they? They haven't made a mistake. Tyrone May threw a good ball to Kieran. Kieran then threw a good ball to Romano. You look at the centres that they let go last year in Lange and Farre, and then Steve McNamara's put some faith in young Laguerre and Romano, and it seems to be working. That formula, bringing the French players through, it means something to them.
Is it what Catalan are doing right, or is it what Wigan are doing wrong?
I think it's Catalan doing right here. There was a lot of discussion around the fact that a lot of these players from Catalan played in the World Cup, which meant that their pre-season's been shortened. You know, people are doubting them. They're doubting coming to the DW Stadium. They're doubting the 8 players they've got on the sidelines that can't play. There's so much doubt in these boys that they've got to go out and prove a point, and they are keeping these basics so simple, and they're executing them perfectly.
Well, I'll tell you what, they may have put 30-odd points past Hull last weekend, but in the context and in the conditions and in the record they have at this ground, this is the best 40 minutes from Catalan this season. McLaurin with the kick downfield, Steele picking it up on his own 20.
But that white line, that wall, is what's been impressive. From the kick-off to where we are currently, to them respecting position and possession, it's been working for them. You've got to make sure that Wigan's back three are probably the quickest back three in the competition. You've got to stop them. If you stop them, you stop the bigger boys. Well, that's what you can't do, though, Pikey.
Well, the crowd were baying for a penalty. They were offside, simple as. Interesting that we've seen very little from the Wigan backline, the Wigan wingers, the threats, French, Marshall, Field, little or nothing with ball in hand, as yet.
But I think that comes from a really strong defence. They've just been getting up and they've been shutting them down straight away. They've not given them an inch.
Havard, Kieran in there with the tackle. Seguier. 3 and a bit minutes to half-time. Can Wigan get some points on the board? Smith lifts it over. Is it a penalty? I think it is.
Yeah,
it may well have been taken out.
Well, you knew exactly what was on. As soon as Bevan French comes into the middle of the field, you're coming up to half-time. You know that he's loitering with some intent. And it was a good kick, and you could see Kieran just come straight across him, cuts his path down, gives the penalty away.
Don't step across him. It's too far out.
Was that a trick from Kieran? I'm not sure. Penalty sufficient, according to the referee. Key moments in this game, you feel. 3 minutes to go to half-time. And what a time this would be for Wigan to score. They've been kept out by a resolute Catalan defence. There's been some errors on attack as well. Pearce-Paul is that close. Powell just setting it up just to the right of the post. 2.5 minutes now to half-time. Catalan leading by 12 points to 0. Well handled in the end by Smith. Here's the captain Farrell. But Farrell's brought down, and again good defence. He manages to get the ball out. Play on, says the referee.
Not early Mike here, mate. Hold.
Powell. And again, no way forward. This time for Cade Ellis. This is the last one. Powell then, go to the left-hand side. Smith with a little kick through. Ball bouncing all over the place, and Davis in the end has to run it back, and it's out for a dropout. Delighted to say we're joined by the Wigan coach, Matty Peet. It's not gone to script so far.
No, certainly not. I think it's important that we don't start chasing points too soon. I think obviously we've been asked if we could score before half-time, but I think there's a few simple adjustments, particularly in the ruck. I think Catalan are giving us a bit of a lesson there, so if we can fix that, I think we can post points out of our own.
I mean, you've shown already this season, plenty of time, plenty of points.
Certainly, I think what we need to do is try and speed the ruck up one way or another, and equally when Catalan have got the ball, I think they're generating more ruck speed than us, so I think we need to take the lead and maybe be a bit smarter in that department. If you look, they're making the play the ball area very messy, whether it's Mickey Getter in the play the ball or them laying on for a little bit longer and tying us up. I think they're playing very smart in that area.
Matthew, thanks very much. We'll look forward to hearing what you have to say during half-time. John Wells, of course, in the Wigan dressing room. And this is another penalty for Wigan. And again, the clock is stopped, and there's still a minute to go. Do they have to score here?
Well, if they don't score it, it doesn't mean that the game's gone. But they've got a minute. They've got 6 players. They're going to go for 2 points. What are they going to do?
It settles you down a bit, doesn't it? Just to getting the points on the board, I think the score's not in their way. But I think definitely getting something on there, not going in with that nil, will maybe settle you down a little bit, give you a little bit more confidence, just get the flow back in.
Yeah, Manu Mao it was with a challenge on Cade Cust. And they've been clamping down on this, the referees, haven't they? And 10 minutes in the sin bin for Manu Mao, and I suppose it's consistent, isn't it? But there has been a lot of clamping down on the late or late-ish hits in the first 3 or 4 weeks, and Manu Mao got the first try, goes to the sin bin, and with less than a minute to go to half-time, probably the right decision for Wigan to try and put some points on the board with a penalty.
Yeah, well, they'll just take it now, won't they? As soon as they were having a little look at that, I think Cade Cust came along and said, yeah, we'll go for the 2 points here.
A yellow card?
I think when they were looking at it initially, where it's ended up, that's why it's been given a penalty. But the initial contact was fine. It's where it ended up.
It's just hard, isn't it? It's momentum. It's that fine line between late hit and momentum, I think.
Well, that's the calls that the referees are making, isn't it? So Harry Smith to put some points on the board for Wigan, and he does right at the end of what's been a pulsating first half here at the DW Stadium. The Catalan Dragons, who have